disappointing loss for the Phoenix Suns. They've now lost 2 in a row and are 1-2 without Chris Paul present in their starting lineup. It was a close game. It was a well-fought game. Ultimately, it came down to a turnover at the end. Phoenix Suns ends up losing the game by a total of 4 points. So, Matthew, as I bring you in to this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast, how you feeling? And where's your background?
No background today. I'm feeling okay though. But no background today because my hat, actually, my new one I got.
Oh,
it picks up the background on the green screen. I just wanted to wear it, so no photos tonight. You just get to see the beautiful background where it looks like in Afghanistan or something right now. So.
Yeah, seriously. Well, this is a reminder to anybody who's watching. If you want to submit a background picture that Matthew will display behind him, please do so by stopping by our Twitter page at Suns Jam and sliding into our DMs, or even just tagging us on Twitter. We'll go ahead and throw it on there, but not today because Matthew's got that fly new hat and he wants to show it off for all the Jamsters to see. So definitely a lot to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Again, the Phoenix Suns play the Utah Jazz. A 1:30 start out here in the desert, a little odd. And, I was actually on the Solar Panel podcast yesterday, and I predicted this one to be a loss. So I will say that I was not surprised. Matthew, were you surprised that the Phoenix Suns lost this game?
No, I wasn't. I just think it's more difficult than what people think. You take out Chris Paul, who was an MVP candidate. It just shows it now, right? I think Steve Nash, what did he miss? Like 7 games in a row, and they went over 7 that year. He won the MVP. So, of course, it's not like a thing where Chris Paul can still win the MVP because he will miss a lot of time. It just shows like how valuable he is, from rebounding to defense to everything the Suns team has to do to win. So it's the little things out there that you miss from them.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely frustrating just because, they had a chance in this game to really to win it. And I think that, some mental errors, again, the not having Chris Paul is where you really start to notice those little mental errors and things of that nature come to fruition. And, truthfully, this is, the Suns took them down to the wire. We're without our MVP candidate, if you will, in Chris Paul, and we still only lost by 4. So there's definitely some things to analyze in this game and go, okay, we're doing this well. There's definitely a lot to be happy about, I guess. I wouldn't say happy, but just like okay, good. But there's definitely a lot that needs to improve, especially knowing that we're going to be without Chris Paul for a prolonged period of time. There's definitely some things over these last couple of games and trends that we've noticed that we're like, okay, these things need to change. So we're going to get into all that on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. If you've decided to join us post-game, we appreciate you. If you're watching along live, please subscribe, rate, and review, and hit that thumbs up button here on YouTube. And even if you're watching this show a little bit later, if you're absorbing this loss and you're pissed off and you threw your phone and when Jae Crowder threw that ball out of bounds with 2 seconds left, and now you
he broke your phone from throwing that ball out of bounds.
Exactly.
You're sitting in those
if you're in the third row and the ball hit your phone and you dropped it and you broke it. Now you're down to AT&T and you're getting a new phone. And when you finally get a chance to watch this podcast, please hit the thumbs up button as well. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review, and leave us some of those good comments. We always appreciate those. So, Matthew, I'm going to be drinking a mini Dr. Pepper today.
Cute.
Adorbs. So this is what I'm going to do.
I got a Diet Coke. So.
I saved my Arnold Palmer from Perfect Pear. We went to lunch today at Perfect Pear down in Chandler, and I saved it. And I went to the room to go watch the game. I come out, my wife drank it. I was like, God damn it.
No, dude.
I was really looking forward to that Arnold Palmer.
I hate that, man. At least she just didn't throw it away like she always does.
Yeah.
Throw stuff away.
Might as well. So pop them if you got them, Suns fans. I know you might need some therapy on this session following a loss, but let's talk about this game against the Jazz.
The Suns Jam.
So the Phoenix Suns, again, play against the Utah Jazz, lose by a final score of 118-114 in this one. And that brings me to my first question of the podcast.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I gotta ask, if everything were to end today, and by everything I mean the season, not the world, the Phoenix Suns would have the 1 seed, the Utah Jazz would have the 4 seed, and this could potentially be a preview of the second round matchup in the Western Conference playoffs. What do you think of that matchup?
It'd be fun. The thing is, I feel like we've been giving Utah a lot of crap lately about the whole Gobert and Donovan Mitchell stuff that you always hear about. Something always leaks, I feel like, every week between those two, like something going on in the locker room, some friction between the two. But now that I see them, in this game, they look like they're playing pretty well together. It doesn't seem like they have any issues. So if they're a team right now that's getting hot, which is the right time to start getting hot, it'll be tough. But my favorite thing really is when we play the Jazz is Aiden usually can have a good time against Gobert, and he did tonight. But then also he usually kind of plays him out of the game. I feel like, or the Suns as a team usually they can play Gobert out of the game, and if they can get back to that, I'm not too worried about playing this team in the playoffs.
No, I agree. And I think that, playoff basketball is such a different beast because you really start to fine tune in on the opposition's weaknesses and try to exploit them. In a 1-game scenario in which we saw today, the Phoenix Suns aren't going to sit there and throw all of these different variations and attempts, if you will, at trying to get Gobert out of the game. That being said, I think it'll be a hard-fought series if and when that does occur. And the Utah Jazz are one of those kind of, I said it again. I'll reference what I said on the Solar Panel podcast because I wasn't here for show 300. Welcome to show 301, everybody. We can't get this 50th win. God damn it. Let's get there already. Jesus. It's like, shit, we're stuck on 49.
I know.
But, one of the things that I said is this is a professional team, the Utah Jazz. This is a team that has been together for a long time. They know who they are. They're very locked into their identities. And they do the things that the Phoenix Suns do well, is understand their role, jabronis. They accept who they are and they play their roles well. You saw that tonight with Jordan Clarkson, who went 10 for 17 from the field, had 20 points for the Utah Jazz. And it's because he knows who he is, what his role is, and when he should navigate and when he should show up and show out for the Utah Jazz. So in a 7-game series, I'm not overly worried about the Utah Jazz, but at the same time, like, you have to respect this team. And they showed us today kind of the reasons why, if you will. They're a deep team. They're a team that can definitely utilize their size on the interior. And, when JaVale McGee isn't playing well to back up DeAndre Ayton, then guess what? They're going to consistently out-rebound you, which is something that they did this evening. They had, 41 total rebounds. They had 14 on the offensive end. The Phoenix Suns had 36 total rebounds and only 10 on the offensive end.
What do you see the rebounds at? The 30? I see 44 and 58. What is the... Am I looking at the wrong?
I don't know. I'm looking at NBA.com's final box score total.
Okay.
So total rebounds, 41 for the Jazz, 14 offensive. And I see 36 for the Suns, with 10 being on the offensive board. And again, I think the challenge there is the challenge we've kind of seen over these past couple games, where when the opposition has size, we aren't executing on the rebounding sense. Why is that? Because we have the rebounders. Why? And Kenneth Payne, he says it too. Why no Biyombo? Like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, all good questions, right? The rebounding, I'm lost with that one because I want to say is it Chris Paul? Is it the accountability that Chris Paul has on these players? What is it? Because it doesn't make any sense where rebounding becomes such an issue all of a sudden when Chris Paul's gone. Like, we've never had this. This just reminds you of like the old Suns that can never get a board.
That's what it felt like today, man.
They can't get the stop. They can never get the stop in these last few games. It's very difficult for them. Even like tip balls, anything that's on the ground to scramble for, like, they're not coming up with those balls. They usually do. They're usually the team like the Utah Jazz that are confident in themselves. They know who they are. And of course, you take Chris Paul out and you know it's going to take this team a few games maybe to get into rhythm. But the rebounding thing is still... I don't know. And I know it's Gobert. I know he's a big body down there. He can grab the boards, offensive boards, but it's never been this much of a pain in the ass to the Suns. I think it's Chris Paul and the accountability of him being on the floor. And I think it's Ayton and Mikal Bridges celebrating pregame last game. I'm just joking. But did you see the thing where they were like dancing around and singing on the mop thing? It's like that's stuff that the Suns don't do when Chris Paul's on the floor. So I think it's Chris Paul's fault.
Okay, clearly. Well, I'll give it to, I'll chalk it up to technique for Hassan Whiteside, because Rudy Gobert, I mean, he leads the league in rebounding. So I'm not going to harp too much on the fact that we got out rebounded by Rudy Gobert. Again, he ended tonight with the total, how many rebounds? Let's see. Rudy Gobert, 14. He had 16 points and 14 boards, 7 on the offensive end. He's a big guy and he's hard to move around. But what I was noticing was something that Hassan Whiteside was doing. And I hope that DeAndre Ayton goes back and watches this tape and does two things. One, learn this move that I'm about to explain. And two, learn how to defend against it when you're playing against certain guys like Whiteside, who are professional rebounders. What Whiteside would do is he would hang out underneath the basket out on the baseline to where he's not even in the play, because he knows the play's drawn up for somebody to shoot a three. So he just hangs out underneath. And once the shooter starts to get in position to shoot, he would run at DeAndre Ayton, turn around, shove his ass into his hip, and push him off of his spot underneath the basket. So if a miss happened, DeAndre Ayton, between DeAndre Ayton and the ball was Hassan Whiteside. And that's how he was getting his offensive rebounds. And I was watching that. He did it like 2 or 3 plays in a row. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, that's what DA needs to do on some situations when he thinks that he's not going to get an opportunity to touch the ball on the offensive end, is set himself up in a good position to get an offensive rebound if it actually is a miss for the Phoenix Suns. And DA didn't get his first rebound until about 11 minutes into the game. So, I mean, it was just their rebounding was really frustrating. You nailed it, man. It felt like those old Suns teams that just couldn't get boards.
And just, the way Ayton wasn't able, he's always on the outside looking in on those rebounds. He's trying to tip it out of, he has a lot of over the backs, a lot of things that aren't really called. And then a lot of fouls that are being called against him or not against him. He's just like complaining. But I'm like, Ayton, that is a foul. And I'm like, Ayton, that's not a foul. You know what I mean? So I really think the accountability, not for him, but I think maybe more for him or something with Chris Paul being on the floor, where it's just like, hey, I got to grab this board to give it back to Chris Paul to set up the offense. If I don't get it, he's going to be pissed. That's just me thinking that. But because it doesn't make sense how it was never an issue. And then now tonight in the last game too, it was just, it's hard for the Suns to get any stops or a second chance, or they're giving up so many second chances to these teams. It's out of the ordinary. I don't understand.
And the Pelicans too, 3 games ago. I mean, that's a team that did a good job out rebounding the Suns. And the Suns, they blew them out in the last, 5 minutes of the game. But up until that point, they were having a hard time. Coach Fallen Founder says it in the chat. He says, DA does this, DA does that when he does that sync. I can't read. I'm so pissed I can't read. I'm like, it's tough trying to be chippy after a loss. And you're just like, well, let's look at the bright side, guys. And I'm like, God damn it, I hate the Jazz. But Coach Fallen Founder makes a good point, where essentially he says that DA does this thing where he sinks to the low post away from the ball on offense. He takes himself out of a play besides a rebound. I think that we've seen that plenty of times, and a lot of things that we're referencing happen with regularity for the Suns. But when you win, it's not a big deal. When you lose, it's magnified. And that's definitely, what's going to be happening. The majority of our conversations on this podcast today is, I'll preface everything that we're about to say with, we understand we're still okay. We're 49-12. Okay. We're still 5.5 games up on the Warriors. The Warriors play the Dallas Mavericks tonight. That'll be an interesting watch and a good game, because the Mavericks are really hot right now. And the Warriors too are floundering without Draymond Green. So it's not the end of the world. But when you have these losses and you analyze specific parts of the Phoenix Suns game, these are things that we're noticing as fans, because without CP3, we don't want these little one-offs to become trends. The rebounding thing is slowly becoming a trend for the Phoenix Suns. You mentioned it in the last game against the who did we play the last game?
Jeez, who did we freaking play last game?
I wasn't on the pod, so
oh my gosh, 300. They lost to. Oh my God, hold on 1 second. It's just one of those days, dude. Pelicans.
It was the Pelicans. So you look at the Pelicans. You look at the Pelicans game. I meant the OKC game before that. I apologize for misspeaking there. But you look at the total rebounds against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Phoenix Suns had 43. The Thunder had 42. In the last game, the Phoenix Suns had a total of 37 to 53 for New Orleans. So it's nothing to scoff at. and it's nothing to get overly analytically frustrated with yet. But the rebounding is slowly becoming an issue. And again, I just like JaVale just hasn't been playing good the past couple games. Can we agree to that?
Yeah, no, he's been pretty terrible, pretty
I
awful,
mean,
man. I don't know where you start with him because he was always such a sure thing, right? But then also, I think we were very spoiled early in the season with him. You think that's what it is? We were very, very spoiled because he's never really played, especially when we played against him in the past. I don't remember him being on the team and being that like valuable for that
yeah.
long of a duration during a season. So I think we were really spoiled earlier in the season with him, and he's been bad. He's been trying to do the one-on-one stuff still, where he's handling the ball a little bit too much. He's probably doing a little bit too much because Chris Paul's out, and players might think they can do more or they have to do more because he's out. So that might have something to do with it too. He's just like DeAndre Ayton, and someone mentioned it in the pod or in the comments too, where it's team rebounding. Yeah, Gary Pinky said team rebounding. Matthew, he's talking about Ayton. He was pulled out of the paint, and then the opposing C's get rebounds over guards and wings. So it is team rebounding. It's always been that way. And I think even McGee's a guy that's not in the right position either to grab the boards or even, help defense. He got dunked on again today. So I don't know, man. A lot of bad stuff's going on with him. So I hope and Biyombo too was mentioned. It's like, where is Biyombo ever going to like come back in and try to make a difference for this team?
That's my question, because again, if you look overall, the Phoenix Suns average 46 rebounds a game. That's seventh best in the league. Okay. And they give up 44.6, which is 16th in the league. So, I mean, they are what you would define as a good rebounding team. Just these last 3 games, it hasn't been consistent. We've gone against some good rebounders, but at the same time, it's like it's not consistent. And it starts with JaVale McGee, in my humble opinion. 13 minutes played this game. He was a worst -20. And you saw it at the in the second quarter and at the end of the third quarter when the Utah Jazz went on those big runs. It's when JaVale McGee was out there and he just wasn't effective. It's like his floppiness, if you will, his fluidity as a center is not something that's physical. And this was a team that has physical rebounders. And I'm not saying that Bismack Biyombo could come in there and be a physical rebounder, but at least he's not going to handle the ball as much as JaVale McGee. And maybe it's time to revisit providing Bismack Biyombo an opportunity for some minutes. He too is not a physical rebounder, but what we've seen from JaVale McGee over these past 3 games just hasn't been it. And that's what you need more than anything. What's been killing the Suns over, since Chris Paul has been gone is not the starters. It's not the fact that the starters have to pick up the slack where Devin Booker or where Chris Paul is gone and Devin Booker is, having to carry this team so much that he's so tired. Our second team is gone completely and utterly void. I mean, 11 points they had in this game. I think it was to 43 for the Jazz. You look at the last game, it was the same thing. The second team's just not doing it, man.
No, they're not. Sunders Dunks actually said too, McGee and Craig were bad. Craig's been since his first game.
This is funny. I wrote this in my notes. Hold on.
Yeah,
let me do the drop for him.
What's up?
Glad you start on this point because I got plenty to say on this one.
Yeah, he's been pretty terrible. I know like last game against the Pelicans, he came down hard on his knee, he tweaked it or whatever. I don't think that's bothering him at all. There's something to do with like, is it Chris Paul's fault again? I'm just joking.
No,
because he's gone. No, I'm joking. All right. No, I honestly think that it's kind of like we now going through my head when I'm watching him. I'm like, so the reason we traded for him is what, you know what I mean? I love having him back. But right now he's just struggling he's jacking up threes. And I'm thinking to myself too, I'm like, is he a good 3-point shooter? Like, is he a guy that they're leaving wide open on purpose? Like, yeah, like they are. And he's not making anything. He's not helping the team offensively. Defensively, he's fine. But even last game against the Pels, he's like overzealous a lot on defense where he's flying by guys. He's not playing on-ball defense as well as he was last year. And he's not really the guy that's like making those unique plays that kind of help the Suns get back into games and be that energy guy. Ever since the first game, he's just been way off, dude. And I want to hear your take too, because I don't know what it is. Like, I can't really explain the rebounding. I can't really explain the way Torrey Craig's been playing. Like, we're not used to this, right? as Suns fans. So I mean, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it in my notes as well. Something's wrong with the juice right now. And you mentioned 3-point shooting. On his career, he's a 32.9% 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
So he's never been a crazy great 3-point shooter, but we definitely remember him contributing last year during the Suns playoff run, hitting some timely threes. Since that first game, and again, the first game back was against Orlando. He was 6 for 9 from the field. He had 14 points. He was 2 for 3 from deep. Since then, not including today, where he was 0 for 3 from the field, he's scoring 3.5 points per game in 20 minutes played. He's shooting 15.4% from 3 and 26.3% overall. Torrey Craig has become the Grand Canyon of this offense. He's non-existent, and he's not playing effectively enough on defense, because I was watching him today defensively too, because once I was thinking about it after the past couple games, I'm like, you know what, Torrey Craig is like, we got really hyped when we got him back. Obviously, the familiarity factor helps. He comes out, he scores that 14 points in the first game. That was fantastic. But since then, we haven't dropped the juice drop on this podcast, and I was thinking about that when this game started. And then he came out and he was wide the fuck open, and just bricks a 3 bad. I was just like, I'm going to watch him on both sides. And both sides, now granted, it's a little bit tougher to judge him defensively tonight because he's coming off a game where it sounds like he twisted his knee a little bit. There was a little bit of an injury scare. So obviously he's going to play gingerly on that. And he's going to provide us minutes because he's a warrior and he wants to help this team. But he just seems a step slower than the opposition. He's not doing anything on defense that necessarily is saying, hey, this guy deserves to be out there. I don't know if I want to go all the way to say, hey, Ish Wainwright needs to start getting some of these minutes, because at least he's bringing the energy and bringing the hustle, because Torrey Craig just kind of looks like, since that first game with the Phoenix Suns coming back, he's kind of just going through the motions, and I don't like it. He needs to get rid of number 0. That's my conclusion.
Maybe that's what it is. He might change his number. So I don't know. I think that the thing is, I don't know. I was going to talk about Holiday too, and how he's been probably the better guy, like off the bench, obviously helping the Suns, but even Craig himself, I think that there's opportunity for him to improve, but right now he's kind of like lost in a way. I don't know if it's a body language either. He looks kind of like, just like, I'm not really in the mood to do shit. It kind of, in a way, but
yeah,
that's just me reading too much into it. And then you look at like who we traded away to for him, and I don't want to do that. And even if the Suns won today, like, this is a tough matchup. There's still a lot of negatives going into a win, so we would have pointed this stuff out. And of course, you don't want to look at like Jalen Smith, how he got like 16 points. 6 boards, whatever, last game on Friday, and contributing to that Indiana Pacers team. It's like, you're kind of like, are we not going to play Wainwright? And you brought up Wainwright. Wainwright was the energy guy. He actually had a few good games before he just stopped playing. So that's the thing that
we got Torrey Craig.
Yeah, that's the thing that Monty does sometimes. Like, we love him as a coach, but a guy that's hot, like a Biyombo, he'll just not play them. It's like, okay, is it a matchup thing? Like, have they asked him in post-game interviews? I haven't really heard a whole lot of Biyombo talk, if he were to answer that at all, why he's not playing Biyombo, because I would love to hear it.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting answer, because again, Javale McGee, as much as we love him for the things that he does effectively, when he misses bad. And Hassan Whiteside fucking owned him in this game, and so did Rudy Gobert. Because in the first half, he was matching up against Whiteside. The second half, he spent a lot of minutes against Gobert, and Gobert kind of did whatever he wanted. Now, granted, I can't stand Gobert at all. He's one of those guys who he does a lot of that flailing shit. And even on that play that Monty challenged, like, I don't think he was fouled. I really don't. Like, oh, it was on Cam Johnson. It's like, yeah, Cam Johnson.
You can't do that though, right? Like, they called it on Booker, right? So either it's not a foul on Booker, or it is. I thought they couldn't change the call to someone else was the foul.
Oh no, I'll never forget. It was the NBA Finals with LeBron James and the Warriors. Probably, the fourth or the third iteration of that 4 consecutive NBA Finals. And there was one play where they stopped and they reviewed a charge, and they looked at it forever, and they actually changed the call to something completely different. But it's not what they initially were challenged. I'm like, oh, and that's where I had that moment you just had. Like, I had that, I was like, well, you can change the call.
Yeah, I remember that, man. We were so pissed.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we were pissed. It's like, come on, this is bogus. So, again, there's something's got to be done with this second team unit right now. And again, you can't put this one on Chris Paul. The one thing I think that actually really hurts the second team is simply the fact that they are without probably their best scorer.
Lights, Cameron, action.
Cam Johnson's moved into the starting lineup with the absence of Chris Paul, and he's lighting it up and he's playing fantastic. But when he leaves the court and that whole first team leaves the court, you're left with Aaron Holiday, JaVale McGee, Landry Shamet, and Torrey Craig. None of them are really true scorers. I would say that, and Landry Shamet should be. Let me start there. Landry Shamet should be. He went 0 for 1 in this game. Or yeah, I'm sorry. He went 0 for 1. Yeah. And he hit like a couple free throws. Yeah. I mean, he's the guy who needs to be scoring, and he's not even taking fucking shots now. It's like, it's one thing I can be pissed off about Landry Shamet for shooting and missing. Now he's just not even taking shots, and you need those guys to shoot the ball. And Aaron Holiday is a scorer, but he was 2 for 9 from the field in this one because he was trying to carry the offense. He was doing everything he could to try to get open. None of the guys were really cutting for him. You don't have Cam Johnson cutting, or getting open for 3 to assist him and take the offensive pressure off of him. And that's why you only score 11 points from. And the crazy thing is the Phoenix Suns scored 114 points in this game, and only 11 came from the bench. That's where the opportunity lies, in my opinion. Mikal Bridges looked great on the first team. He was 5 for 7 from the field. We don't rely on him a ton for offense, but he gave us some. Jae Crowder was 4 for 8 from 3 in this game. Deandre Ayton, obviously, we'll talk about him momentarily, how great he looked. But Cameron Johnson looked fantastic as a member of the first team unit, going 7-11 from the field, 4 for 6 from deep, and was 5 for 5 from the free throw line as well. He also dished out some, 5 assists, including 2 no-look assists. Cameron Johnson looked fantastic and continues to look fantastic with the first team unit. It's the fact that there is no secondary or primary scorer off of that second team unit that's hurting the Suns right now.
Yeah, and like, lucky for him, he's on the first team unit. He'd be like, "What's up with the bench?" Now he can go to dinner parties with the. He can go. Yeah, come on. Like, I'm hanging out with the starters now, dude. You guys got to pick it up. So he has that little edge, but Cam is awesome, obviously. But the thing is, like, I love him handling the ball, and it's going to be so fun because next year, and I always do this, I always look forward to like next year and things that they're going to improve on.
Like 4 years from now.
Yeah, when he does a dribble drive and he like dribbles around in circles, he always takes like the long way around people. You notice that? So I can't wait for him to like implement a little bit of moves in there, a little stop and go, a little behind the back, dribbles. But he's setting up his teammates too. He's doing everything on offense. It's like really kind of under the radar, right? He's always setting up someone with a nice sweet pass under the basket almost every game. But what he's doing right now starting, it's going to be weird, right? I mean, when Chris Paul comes back, you just have to throw him back on the bench just because how bad the bench is. And
when Cam Payne comes back, you throw him back on the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. I would definitely do that because they need it. And Shamet, that is very frustrating. There's no confidence there to jack up a shot. It's like, I don't understand that at all. It's like, and if you do go 2 for 7, it's fine, dude, because we need you to actually get your confidence. Even though we keep throwing, even when Flex said we agreed, it's like, yeah, I'm done with Sham. We still need you to actually try, because Booker playing the 40 minutes again tonight, that's going to always be an issue, I feel like, from now on. And I think he came in like way too early in the fourth quarter. It was like 9 minutes left in the game.
And
he came back. Yeah. And we were only down by like 3 points. And I was thinking to myself, right when that timeout was called, or it was like a stoppage of play, I'm like, please do not bring those guys back in right now, because it's only a 3-point game. It doesn't, as long as we keep it close by like 5, 6, or 7 points, we'll be fine. You even saw that at the last minute. We still almost tied the game. We were down by 9 points or whatever. So they needed to get some more rest in them. I don't understand. I know these guys aren't really doing well offensively, and I think Aaron Holiday kind of is hitting his ceiling already, right, as an offensive player for the Suns. He's awesome. I love what he does, but he can only do so much. And when he has to be asked to do more, then that's when he's going to be worse on offense, because it's going to be a lot for him to deal with to carry that second team with Cameron Johnson starting right now. So there's a whole lot of questions right there, right? There's a whole lot of things that are going through our minds right now as Suns fans, but I honestly think just wait till the next game against the Trailblazers to see how these things work out, because tonight they start off really good. They started the first quarter. It looked like, oh, same old Suns. Here we go. They just got to finish this next time and maybe get some extra rest for Booker.
Well, and again, it comes down to the fact that once they started subbing in the second team guys, they started playing like crap, and the defense isn't there, because again, the identity of that second team unit is non-existent right now, and it makes sense, right? I mean, they do have a ton of players out, so I understand why it's choppy, if you will. I mean, the Suns are hurting, and the fact that we lost by 4 to the fourth best team in the record-wise in the Western Conference, and offensively the best team in the NBA. This is the best offensive team in the NBA. It is admirable that the Suns put up such a fight. It goes to show you that the depth is something to be proud of, and something to really note that the Suns are on the right track. We are so hampered right now, to the point where Devin Booker has to play 40 minutes because he's the primary ball handler. It's like, we need campaign back. We need production from Landry Shamet, because Aaron Holiday, as you said, I think you said it very correctly too. He's hit his ceiling offensively. Like, we know what he is. It's a good addition to this team. It's definitely somebody who is and has the capability to provide some assistance, but he's not somebody who can carry this team for stretches at a time when we need him to. Whereas Campaign can do that, and in theory, Landry Shamet should have been able to do that. None of which occurred. So again, knowing that CP3 is going to be out for quite some time, the second team unit really needs to be kind of the area of focus for the Phoenix Suns, because that's where they're losing these games right now. It's not the first team unit. When you look at the fact that Devin Booker put in 30, you had DA and Cameron Johnson at 23, Jae Crowder at 16, and Mikal Bridges had 11. You get any kind of production off of from your second team unit, you win this game, because you get 113 or 103 points from your first team units. You should win the game. But if your second team unit is as completely non-existent as they were today, you're going to get losses. So they've got to really start to take a look at how they can be productive, or just get healthy, Suns. Get healthy.
Watch.
Now, I know this is going to be a great topic. I'm sure Twitter's blowing up all about the fact that Deandre Ayton, in the first half ended with a total of 17 points on 8 of 10 shooting. He only scored 6 more points and took 5 more shots the remainder of the game. Tell me what you saw from DA, and how pissed off are you, Matthew, that the Phoenix Suns didn't continue to feed the beast?
Oh, I mean, this is just something we're used to. This is something we talked about last year before the playoffs, and they kind of fixed it going into the playoffs, where they kept DA more involved as the games went along. I expected it. I never expect anymore for this to be like a 30-point game from DA, just because either two things happen, where they go away from him, or else DA doesn't really ask for the ball. I really liked tonight, though, when DA was getting the ball, he was actually spacing himself from the defender a lot and just hitting those wide open jump shots. And they were kind of giving him space, but he was making himself available for the whoever had the ball handler, whatever you call that guy, the ball handler,
the guy with the ball.
So he was doing that, so it made it easy for them to find him. And then he's so good, he's so efficient. Even that 3 he hit tonight, it just looked natural. It even looked like DA. It just looked like a straight up shooter out there shooting the 3, wide open. So the more he actually is making himself available for his teammates to find him, it makes it easier for everybody. And how efficient he is, it's like, how can you not hit that guy when he's right there, standing right there, 2-3 feet away from the defender? Just knock it down right in front of their face. And it should always continue. It should always be a thing to where he can get those good looks, right? I think it just has to be. And it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of lost with the whole thing where this is still a thing. I mean, sometimes it's DA still, to where he's posting up way too deep in the passes. If he's going to get a lob pass, he's going to get tipped away. I still see that sometimes. Sometimes I see where Booker just misses him. Booker's a little bit slower as a playmaker. He doesn't see stuff like Chris Paul does. He takes forever sometimes to get the ball moved around. And that's Booker's thing. That's the other player. So it's always both. But then the thing is, when DA starts out that hot and he's like playing great defense against Gobert early in the game, where he was done with Gobert. He's like, I'm done with this dude. Remember, like, it was 2 block shots in a row. He's like, I'm done with you. And then it kind of just ended. It ended right there. It was like that defense kind of just ended on Gobert. And I know there was a lot of switches. DA was getting pulled out. So that's why the rebounding kind of sucked too. But it's so inconsistent with the way he is game in and game out, where you think you're just going to get this awesome DA game. And I just don't believe in it anymore. And it's enough. It looks good on the box score, but we need him to really help Booker down the line down towards the end of the game. But we need him and Booker to be those two that are unstoppable. And the only way to do that is to continue to give him the ball and continue to work him in the offense.
I completely agree. And I knew at halftime when he had 17 points that he would end with under 30. I just knew it. I'm like, okay, 13 points in the second half. I'm like, there's no way it happens because two things start to happen. One, the Suns stop feeding him. But two, he gets comfortable with the Suns stop feeding him. That's the issue with DA that frustrates me, because again, I'm okay with him going out there and averaging 16 and 12 or whatever and being effective on defense, rebounding the ball, obviously, for the 12 rebounds, and being the tertiary option for this Phoenix Suns team. But with Chris Paul out, he needs to be more aggressive. And it looked like he was more aggressive in this game. Again, that first half, he was demanding the ball. When he got it, as you mentioned, there was no hesitation on his jumpers, which just looks so crisp, so clean. He has such a great offensive repertoire. Hell, he even hit a 3 in this game. But I just knew that his lack of aggressiveness when the Suns need it to be, when we need him to go and demand the ball. Rudy Gobert is demanding the ball. Rudy Gobert is making himself available and just saying, just get it down here to me. I'm going to make something happen. Whether it's getting somebody in foul trouble or allowing the defense to collapse on him and finding a wide open 3-point shooter, which they found plenty of those. I mean, the team ended by going 17 of 40 from beyond the arc, 42.5% for the Utah Jazz in this game. But ultimately, I knew, I'm like, DA's not going to demand the ball enough to where he's going to be effective in that second half. The third quarter, he took one shot. The fourth quarter, they started getting him the ball a little bit, and he started hitting it. And you're like, yeah, why don't you doing this every fucking time? You need those games. Like this could have been a game where DA goes for 40 easy. It could have been. He got whatever he wanted. Was he from the mid-range? I will say it was a little bit harder for him to navigate the interior, which makes sense. You have Rudy Gobert. But that does so much for the team. If he gets the ball and he turns and he's looking to shoot, you're going to draw Gobert to him or Whiteside because he was hitting that shot effectively. And I noticed in the third quarter, it was like 2 or 3 times where they'd pass the ball to him at the top of the key, and he would just start doing this, the typical DA thing, start looking for the next guy to pass it to. It's like, dude, turn around, look at the rim for a second, do a pump fake, and guess what? You're going to open up somebody. You'll get Mikal Bridges cutting or Cam Johnson cutting behind the Gobert or Whiteside who is coming to defend you. But he's just looking to pass. It's passive DA. And like that mode. And again, he's playing fantastic offensively. He is. But he doesn't want to be aggressive ever. And like now, like they need to be in that locker room right now. Chris Paul needs to go up to him and be like, listen, dude, ask for the fucking rock. The guys will give it to you. You have to ask for that rock. Because if not, they're going to try to run different states of offense. But he's got to be a little bit more aggressive. And that's kind of my DA thing. Again, I thought he played a great game. 11 for 15 from the field. The challenge was only the 7 rebounds because he was getting pushed around as he typically does. He's not the biggest center. He's 6'11", 7 feet on a good day. So it's like when you're going against these behemoths that the Jazz have and Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside, I get it. The other thing that kind of frustrated me, and I was thinking about this, is the fact that you looked at Rudy Gobert ended with a total of 1 personal foul. Okay? And Hassan Whiteside had 1 personal foul. What that tells me is the Phoenix Suns didn't do a good job of putting them in foul trouble. That's what the cerebral teams do, and that's something that if Chris Paul was on this team right now playing, they would be focused on trying to get those big guys who are hurt. It's like that; those guys are killing us on the boards. Okay, let's go attack them, get them in foul trouble to get their ass on the bench. And I noticed that wasn't happening at all.
No, it's zero free throw attempts for DA. I think that's just a thing that I think we even talked about last year. It's like free throws and all that, but it's just never been the Suns' thing to really get to the line as much as like a normal team would. Because a lot of teams, like they focus on that early in the game. I don't think the Suns ever really do until they like absolutely have to. When they know like their offense is just sputtering, they're like, okay, let's try to get to the line. Let's try to get them into the 5th team foul to get to the bonus, stuff like that. They'll do that. But getting to the line is just like what the Suns don't do. And that's why Gobert has the 1 foul. That's why he can do whatever he wants all game. And it's only, 16 points? Yeah, 16 points from him today, from Gobert.
Yeah.
I think that, 16 points, it's good. But you just notice him all game, though. Like when DA was a problem early in the game and to the Jazz, when he was an issue to them, it's like that should just keep up the whole game. Like you should notice it throughout. Like it's like, oh, DA's coming back and shit. Like that should be what it is for the Jazz. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
DA's coming back in, because I'm not saying Gobert was that great tonight, but he was still annoying. It's like he's like, oh damn, he's still out there. Like, this is gonna be tough to grab a board. You know what I mean? You notice like the little things that he's constantly being a pest about. And a pest is a pest a word? He's being
pesky.
a pest.
He's definitely pesky.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So that's what I just want DA to be, and he can. It's just like you said, he gets comfortable. And that's why this team will lose games like this, because they get comfortable. And then that's what Chris Paul brings to this team. He doesn't let them get comfortable ever.
100%. And, again, you look at the fact that the second chance points, the Jazz had 27 to the Suns 14. So again, that's 13 extra points right there. They outshot us from the perimeter, and they scored 38 points in that third quarter. All of those factors, plus the fact that the bench didn't play well, equate to a loss for the Phoenix Suns. And is it frustrating? Of course, but you have to also see the other side of this. Look at the Jazz. Okay, you saw that he was mic'd up for the ABC game today, right? And by the way, real quick, ABC games, like, remember growing up how these used to be like on NBC, the Sunday afternoon, like NBA on NBC games, like like that's what this game was, man. Like, this was, I was excited for this game. It's a mid-afternoon game. All the eyes are on us. And somebody said in the chat earlier, like, the Suns have now lost like 6 consecutive games when it's like NBA on ABC, going back to like the finals. Really? And like next week we're playing on Sunday, same kind of time slot against the Bucks in Milwaukee. So it's just like, who doggy. But Donovan Mitchell was mic'd up for this one. He said it to the referee. He's like, it's a playoff game today. Like, that's how they came into this game approaching it. I felt like the Suns did as well. And again, just poor execution at the end with Jae Crowder and everything we talked about it. Again, we only lost by 4 points. Our bench didn't do shit. DA wasn't nearly aggressive enough in the second half, nor did the team go ahead and try to feed him. Landry Shamet only shot the ball one time. Torrey Craig played like shit again, and we only lost by 4 to the Jazz. So it's like, I'm not gonna, go and say the season's ending, blow it up. The team sucks now. I will say we're gonna fall right back off of the national media's radar, and I'm actually okay with it. Of course, we weren't.
We never really were.
Yeah, we weren't there to begin with. So the only
never really.
Now it's just going to be all the the Phoenix Suns. They suck.
They can't do without Chris Paul. It's like, oh, of course, we're missing our MVP player. Like, MVP player. We're missing our MVP of the team, dude. Like, of course, we're not going to be as good.
Yeah, and this is a team that was completely healthy. Because if you think back to the last time that we played them, they didn't have. I don't think Gobert played, if I remember correctly. They didn't have Mitchell as well in one of the matchups. I mean, this was the...
Yeah, I remember Mitchell was gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, we beat them in the 2 other matchups. It was that back-to-back where it was a home and home, one on the 24th, and then we go to Utah on the 26th. And, I mean, we beat them both. So, I mean, again, this is one that they wanted, obviously, more than the Suns did. They were locked in. How annoying is Jordan Clarkson?
Oh, he's annoying. I mean, he's that guy. He's gonna hit the 3 when you don't want them to hit the 3. Of course, you don't want anyone to score ever, but he always hits like the most important 3s. But I do love it. He always has a couple air balls a game. He does not care. He just will chuck them up there and get a couple of air balls. But that's not annoying. But when he's hitting the 3s, when the Suns are trying to make a run, that is completely annoying, and I can't stand it.
Yes, and it's his effectiveness. I mean, he's done that against the Suns numerous times and against multiple teams in the NBA. Clearly, he was the 6th man of the year last year, but he just, man, he's everything Landry Shamet should be. God damn it, just shoot unconscious, doesn't care, and makes them. That'd be the nice thing to have him make some of them. So, let's see here. Anything else you have in your notes to talk about before we give out the jam star?
Let me check. No, I think we covered it all, dude.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, this is a reminder that even though the Suns lost, you can still give us a thumbs up if you're watching along live on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, head over to YouTube and give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Matthew, who is your jam star of the game?
Man, this is actually a tough one. I'll probably give it to Booker. He still kept us in the game tonight. I think he had a few passes that were just, I mean, Jae Crowder pass was the worst pass I've ever seen. And I don't know if Booker really had a chance to
That
get
was
that one.
so bad. Like,
I don't know if
who-
Booker had a chance. Even
No.
Biyombo wouldn't be
no
able to
one
get
on
that
the team
or-
had a chance to get that. It's like he started to throw it, and halfway through, he's like, "Oh shit!" and he just kept throwing it.
Yeah. No, I know. So I'm gonna give it to him. He hit some big shots in clutch time. He kept us close. I mean, it's there. And someone even said in the chat too how this game was a playoff game for the Jazz, but the way the Suns are right now, they are still trying to figure themselves out without Chris Paul. So it's not like they came into this game like the Milwaukee game. That was a playoff game right there. That was a playoff environment tonight.
Big time.
The Suns fans were like, they left. Did you see the empty seats?
I didn't.
With like 2 minutes left? Yeah. I was like,
Aw,
how are they're the
boo.
worst fans ever sometimes. I can't stand them. I'm like, you're leaving. It's a Sunday, and this game's not even over yet, dude. There's 2 minutes left. They're down by like 7. All right.
It's
What
like
do you got?
and we're hitting that point almost, and we remember this. For those of you who are around for the 7 seconds or less era, obviously social media wasn't nearly as big as it is now, but even back then, like Facebook was kind of around. You can tell you're getting the diluted fan base when you're starting to see some very casuals on your timeline on like Facebook posting that they're at the Suns game. And I'm like, what are you doing at the Suns game? You couldn't probably name 2 players. Like, so those are the people who are like, I want to get out for the parking reasons. Like,
yeah,
when a team's good, obviously it becomes the scene, and the scene typically will bring out a lot of casuals. It'll be like you and me in a row, and then like 10 people who are just like, I'm here for the environment. Like, it's really cool. It's a place to be seen. Like, so that's typically you. So, but again, it's disappointing that anybody left early. That was a great game. I'm going to give my jam star to the Cam star, Cam Johnson, man. He was unbelievable. Hubie Brown has a crush on this guy, man.
Yeah, he does.
He was talking about him the whole game on how great he was and how good he's looking out there on the court and the no look passes. And I was just like, man, fanboy over here. I'm like, is that Matthew?
I know, and I have a crush on Hubie Brown, so kind of
So I mean, I think that he was consistent. The fact that he plays with no emotion is still just it's unbelievable.
I love that.
I do too.
I like Mikal a lot, and he's just Mikal's emotion is just like different now. He's just out there. But Cam's still the same, man. Cam he froze once with the 3, and then he just ran right back down the court to play defense.
Yeah,
like he made a 3 and he froze to look at it and just ran.
And then he just turned around and sprinted.
That's why I knew this guy would be good.
And again, I think that's my challenge with the Utah Jazz is they're the anti-Cam Johnson. Like every shot they got to yell and scream. I get it. It's the passion of the game. It's the same. It's like the same argument in baseball, right? Like everybody gets frustrated if Jose Bautista hits like a walk-off home run. They're like, he's one up in the game. It's like, no, man, you should celebrate. You should have a good time. But the problem I have in doing that in basketball, it's like if you're yelling and screaming like Donovan Mitchell does after he hits a 3 and it's like the second quarter, it's like, come on, man. Like you do that shit at the end of the game, like Jose Bautista does. Don't do that after just hitting a 3. Like if you had a full quarter, yeah, sure. I don't know. It pisses me off because it was against us. And we also have a team that doesn't necessarily do that as much, but you're right. Like Mikal Bridges definitely celebrates, and he's very memeable. DeAndre Ayton just complains the whole time, as does Devin Booker.
He plays for the worst calls. I'm like, DA, that's not anything. Like, just get back.
Yeah,
he needs to work on his ref. His
ref etiquette,
that, right? They coach. Yeah, they have to have someone coach that stuff because he needs to get better at that.
No, without a doubt, because you're right. Like he'll turn to the ref. He'll shoot like a floater. He'll miss it, and he'll turn to the refs like, dude, no one was on you. You just fucking missed that. He's just like, wow. Yeah, so no, I agree. Teach him some referee etiquette. So next up for the Phoenix Suns, Wednesday is the next game. And when we play the Portland Trail Blazers at home, Matthew, thoughts on the Portland Trail Blazers?
Not a whole lot of thoughts. It'd be interesting to see this team without CJ, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It should be hopefully it's a win, man. Hopefully the Suns can be 2-2 now without Chris Paul. Because
we got to get that 50, man.
We just got to get out of the way. It's kind of like when a hitter is trying to hit like what's a big thing?
They're like
what's a big thing in baseball when they try to
Jeter's
reach,
going for his 100th home run or something.
But I was gonna say that, but he does it with ease. Jeter always got everything done, right?
He always
never
did it right on cue.
He did. It's like a movie with that guy. But I don't think they're thinking about the 50th win. I think they're just looking for another win, right? And this is a good time to get another win right here.
Absolutely. I think that, Anthony Simons has been playing really well with the subtraction of CJ McCollum. Obviously, Dame Lillard isn't playing. Josh Hart's played in 4 games for the Portland Trailblazers. He started all 4 games and he's averaging 21 points. So he's definitely being productive for that team. The one thing that scares me about this team, obviously, is the fact that they just have nothing to lose, right? They're a team that likes to shoot the 3, and they're a team that has nothing to lose. So they're going to come out like every team is going to come out, see the Suns are weakened, and try to beat them. It's not like to say that teams don't normally try to beat the Suns, but this is a team that carries with them the best record in the NBA, and it's a good measuring stick for where you are at as a team. So they're going to be like the Oklahoma City Thunder and like the New Orleans Pelicans before playing the Jazz. They're a team that is young, pesky, and athletic, and they're going to play. They're too stupid not to play their hearts out. Whereas the Jazz is a more cerebral team, and you saw that tonight. And the Suns had a chance at the end because of the cerebralness. I don't know. So I'm interested. I definitely think it's a win. Just win one, Suns. I want that 50th.
Yeah, don't lose focus the whole game, right? Don't get comfortable. Make this a big win.
Just show up, bench. Like, bench, show up.
Yeah,
because you're not showing up.
The
anymore.
Minutes, man. I mean, if you look at what the Utah Jazz had. I mean, Utah didn't have anybody over 30, but Bogdanovich was the second over 30 minutes. Donovan Mitchell had 36. Everyone else was under 30 minutes in this game.
It's
because they had their bench played. Oh, my God. So 38 minutes for Mikal, 34 minutes for Jae, 34 minutes for DeAndre, 35 for Cam, 39 for Booker, basically 40.
Yeah.
And then, Shamet with 11 minutes, like that can't. These guys, Torrey Craig and Shamet, they need to be like 15 to 20 minutes just to give them the rest, and they should be able to get in there and play a decent game to last that long. Especially against the Trailblazers.
We should be getting. Aaron Holiday gave us 20 minutes. JaVale McGee, Torrey Craig, Landry Shamet, they all need to give us 20 minutes. Like, that's a fact.
Yes.
Right now with CP3 out, with the team hampered as much as they are, you need your bench to play, and they're getting waxed. I mean, JaVale McGee, 13 minutes, a -20. Torrey Craig, 12 minutes, a -15. Aaron Holiday played the 21, had -12. So, I mean, it's just they're getting blown out so bad that Monty is forced to put Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton back in the game at 9 minutes left because he can't trust the team. They're bleeding. They're giving up. The Suns will fight, and you'll sit there and you look at all the statistics, and you're like, damn, dude, I don't know how the Suns are in this game. Like, the Jazz are killing from 3, and they're getting out rebounded, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, they bring in the second team, and it's an 11-2 run for the Jazz. Happened like twice, 2 11-2 runs, and you're like, okay, so essentially, a 24-4 run for them when they. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't let that happen. So the Suns have until Wednesday to kind of get it right, if you will. Again, the Portland Trailblazers, it's a good opportunity to get right. They're a team that currently, if you look at their record, they're 25-35. They're 10th in the Western Conference. Their last game, they played against the Golden State Warriors. They lost by 37 points. So they're a team that's definitely in disarray. Points per game, they're 20th in the league. Opposing points per game, they're 25th in the league. Their offensive rating is 20th in the league. Their defensive rating is 28th out of 30 in the league. And they have a net rating of -4.5, which is 25th best in the league. This is a team you should be able to get right with. This is a team that hopefully we hear some good news in the next couple of days relative to campaign. Because I really think that campaign's reinsurgence will move Cam Johnson back to that second team unit. Then you have that kind of consistent scoring and opportunity for those guys to carry some more minutes because of the scoring. And hopefully things start to reset themselves. It's not the first time that the Phoenix Suns have lost 2 consecutive games this season. I think it's the third time it's happened. It happened on Christmas, happened 2 days after Christmas. So it's not the end of the world. It's only 12 games that they've lost this season, but this one was kind of a punch in the gut, if you will, because the Jazz are a very good team. This also is a loss in crunch time too. I mean, they're now at 25-4, so that hurts my feelings. I love that record of only 3 losses in clutch time. So yeah, we need the Haboob back. We need campaign.
We do. And if things get a little crazy where the Suns do go on a losing streak, let's just say it happens. Do you think Chris Paul comes back sooner than what they really want him to? Because I know Flex was talking about 4 to 6 weeks probably. Do you think he'll come back like at the 4-week mark if things get a little sketchy?
No, it all depends on the league. In all honesty, the most important thing here for the Suns is just maintaining that number 1 seed. So yes, if at any point the Phoenix Suns get with, a game or two above the Warriors and there's a sense of urgency, you might see Chris Paul. But if they're, like even if Golden State wins tonight, the Suns will hold a 5-game lead over them with 21 games left. That's like that. That's a pretty substantial amount to make up over 21 games. Now, granted, basketball, a streak can happen real quick both ways. So to your point, I feel if the Phoenix Suns feel like they're at that point where the Golden State Warriors can overtake them, you might see Chris Paul try to come back a little sooner, and I hope that he doesn't. I'm interested to see if there's any movement in the buyout market for the Phoenix Suns from James Jones. There hasn't been a bunch of buyout guys thus far. I really think over this next week, you're going to start to see a lot of buyout guys start to happen. But I wonder if he's going to be just do any movement, because clearly we need some movement from the bench. It's like,
I know, man. But I'm not saying a losing streak either. I'm just saying, like, and even when you're the second seed, I know this is terrible, but even if it's the second seed, it's not too bad. I don't know. You said back your way into the playoffs. That might suck. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too negative now. I'm just going to stop. I don't want to think about all this stuff.
Well, and again, this is what happens after a loss. That's why we have the Suns jam session, the Suns therapy session. We all get together and we talk about it and we go, okay, let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's try to figure this out. So, 4 minutes left before we hit the hour mark. I guess we could do some childhood trauma if you like. Matthew, do you like?
I like.
Okay.
Childhood trauma.
God damn it. I had a really good topic for this last night. I was talking with my wife. We were watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And like we were talking about something. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great childhood trauma segment. And I don't remember what it is. So Matthew, do you have any childhood trauma segment thoughts, ideas?
I think every time we start this, I'm always like, I need to write these things down because I don't remember. Like, I don't remember anything. So give me 1 second. Let me think. Childhood trauma. Oh, you know what, dude? I'm actually drawing a blank right now. Do you have anything while I was trying to think?
No, I was waiting on you.
Do we not?
I like Roy says in the chat, homework trauma, senior parents naked trauma. I got a good. This is not senior parents naked, but I've got a funny story. I don't know if I've told you this one. So do you know what a douchebag is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what a douchebag looks like?
No, I don't.
Okay, so a douchebag. It's like this. If I remember correctly, it's like It's like this red ball, and it's got like this long black tube on it, right?
Okay.
And like I don't know how it's supposed to work. All I know is I remember when I was a kid, I found this little. I thought it was like because what you do is you can squeeze it, put it in water, let go, and it fills up with water. Then you could use it, and you could squeeze on it, it'll squirt water. So
yeah.
I found what apparently was a douchebag in my parents' bathroom, and I took it out and used it as a squirt gun on my brothers. And then like one day I was like 25 years old. I was working at the bell desk as a bellman at the Westin, and we were all sitting there bullshitting, and I one of my coworkers Googled douchebag, and I saw it and I was like, oh shit, that's what a douchebag is. It's like I used to fucking use it as a squirt gun.
You just told them straight up.
Oh yeah. I got there's no shame in my game. Like I don't. I just like It was like a traumatizing, moment in my life, because I was just like, oh my God, I used to use that as a squirt gun. That's a douchebag. That's embarrassing as shit.
Oh man.
So sorry, little brothers. Sorry,
little. Speaking of that, so did you hear Gary Payton talk about today? Where I think it was yesterday, maybe he was talking about Shaq as a teammate was one of the worst teammates or something. And
really,
I guess Shaq used to like pee in a bucket for like a week and then dump it on rookies as a prank.
That's messed up, man.
So it's kind of the same thing, right? Maybe, I don't know.
No, I mean this didn't have urine, but I mean still like
it's still gross. Stuff
yeah, they were definitely still gross. So. If you want to talk about like real life trauma, it's been a hell of a week.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was driving down Cave Creek. I was going to Home Depot, and I like 30 seconds after an accident happened, I was like right there. There's a guy on a motorcycle. It looked like he ran to the back of a tractor trailer or something, and like he wasn't moving. That was pretty, it was sad. And I don't know if he made it. And then today, you and I had lunch with the family down at Perfect Pair down Chandler. We're coming up I-10, and we're driving. My wife's driving, and looking ahead of us, there's a guy on a motorcycle, and there's a car. And I look, because I'm on the passenger side. I look forward. I see brake lights. I'm like, honey, start to slow down. It's like, and the guy in front of us, he hit on the brakes. He started fishtailing, fishtail, dumped the bike, rolled. So he didn't hit the car in front of him, but I mean, I got out, and my wife called 911, and he was scraped up, looked like his ankle was maybe pretty jacked.
Jeez.
But and then I'm sitting there. It was me and another guy behind me went and got out. He was a physician, and we're sitting there, and I could smell gas, and like the bike was leaking gas. So like we sit there and we, lift it up, and I was like, damn, man. Oh, so, there you go.
Dude, that's terrible, man. Well, I mean,
real life trauma.
Life goes on, I guess, huh?
Yeah, well, life's precious. That's what I've learned this last week. So again, it's fun to come on here and talk about basketball after a loss and be pissed off, but always, let's just go ahead and keep it all in perspective. Suns fans. So, Matthew, say something funny.
No, nothing.
Lighten
I mean,
the
even in the comments right now, getting kind of sketchy. So we probably get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I think it's that time. And Sonia was asking, she's like, "What? You guys only got to do 1 hour?" It's like, yeah, we do like an hour. Like, I don't know if I want to spend like 3 hours talking about a Suns loss. So, Coach Fallen founder, there's trauma in the chat. He's found the one random Jazz fan who came into the chat and started, with an interesting name. So I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the Suns Jam Session podcast. For this, the last podcast of February of 2022. We'll join you again on Wednesday, the first podcast in March of 2022 after the Suns play the Portland Trailblazers. Until then, please subscribe, rate, and review. Give us a thumbs up if you happen to be watching on YouTube. You can follow me at Darth Void on Twitter. You can follow Matthew
Lissy.
And you can follow the show at Suns Jam. So that's it. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Go home and love your family.
And you are the next American Idol.